The whole safe sex thing nowadays, they're like a carnival game, you know, like the basketball free throw or the baseball toss. They're just a jip. They're just a jip.
The games aren't very much fun when you lose.
You know, just a few years ago, there were only 5 sexually transmitted diseases that you had to worry about. Now there are over 20. You know, 20 years ago, they started this safe sex campaign. They've been pushing contraceptives and condoms and the birth control pill. But since that time, pregnancy has increased, the number of abortions has increased, the number of sexual active teenagers has increased, and all this safe sex campaign and all this use of condoms and the push to have safe sex is not working. More people are catching diseases, more people are getting pregnant. So how can you be safe? My brother said a condom. Let me tell you something about a condom. I got a condom right here. We're not talking about babies, even though that's going to happen. We're not talking about abortion, even though that happens. We're talking about dying. We're talking about pain. We're talking about suffering. We're talking about your whole life ending in a terrible way.
You know, some people say, well, you know, if you just use a condom, you'll be protected from sickness and death. Well, that's a false sense of security for this reason. Condoms fail 15% of the time when attempting to prevent pregnancy, although a woman can only get pregnant a few days a month. But you can contract a disease 31 days a month. How high do you think the condom failure rate is in preventing diseases that you can get 365 days a year? See, just one slippage, one breakage, one failure to wear the thing properly, and you're nailed. Right now, according to the United States Centers for Disease Control, 43 million Americans have an incurable sexually transmitted virus. They'll suffer from it for the rest of their lives, and some are going to die of it. That's 1 in 5, and the number is rising every year.
One thing that we're not told is that one attack of chlamydia, one case of chlamydia, gives you a 30% greater chance of having infertility. So you can't afford to experiment. We're seeing so many more women flocking to the infertility doctors and suffering the consequences of a sexually transmitted disease that they thought they had cured years earlier. But the scars are still there, both emotionally and in their bodies.
I even have ladies that come into me and I'll talk to them about the risks of sexually transmitted diseases. And they'll say, oh, doctor, you're being silly. He's not that kind of a guy. You know, he's a real clean-cut, nice, smart guy. He would never have anything like that. Sexually transmitted diseases are really common. There's people all around this city who are infected. You can't see it by looking at their faces or the clothes they dress, but they are very common. As I said, I see them every day. The second thing is you can't recognize, no matter how nice a person is or how nice they dress or how fancy they talk or how wealthy their background is or how educated they are, you can't tell who's infected and who's not.
Okay, do you think you could be safe using a condom?
Yeah.
You do? Still?
I mean, even though you told me that, I prefer having a condom than nothing.
Okay, let me ask you, Memo. You believe that there's always a risk with a condom?
Yes.
You believe that you have a risk of getting a girl pregnant?
Yeah.
You believe you have a risk of getting over 20 venereal diseases?
Yes.
And yet you think an orgasm is worth that risk?
No, but you can have a test and test the girl first.
Oh, so you're gonna go test the girl?
Yes.
So the girl got tested, you got tested, she's a virgin, you're a virgin, right? Or let's say you were.
I am.
And you sleep with her.
Oh, God.
Okay? You're still not gonna get her pregnant.
Oh, yeah, I am.
Oh, you're still gonna get her pregnant?
I mean, I'm not. But geez, you might.
Let me ask you a question, Memo. Is it worth the risk?
No.
It scares me about getting AIDS.
Yeah, I mean, you can have sex and you can die.
Specifically, the students that I'm working with do not look at AIDS as something that would happen to them. And the students, the young people who are engaging in risky activities like sexual practices, if they do contract AIDS here while they're at Roosevelt High School or at some other high school level, most likely will not show signs of that until after they are well out of college.
The reason why I keep my pants on is because it's a joke. It doesn't do anything for you. I thought if you had a lot of girls, it'd make you feel like a man. Doesn't work.
What I've heard about safe sex is that it's not really working anymore. Condoms are breaking, birth control is failing, and many kids and young people are just dying.
Do you know there's not one orgasm in this world that's worth dying for?
My son and his wife were married for 4 years before they found out that they all had AIDS. My grandson was around 3 at the time. Evidently, one of them had to have gotten it before they were married. No one thought, because they were a heterosexual family, that it could be anything like AIDS. In fact, when they went to the clinic, they were assured that they couldn't have AIDS, but they gave them the test anyway. My son had cancer of the liver and of his pelvic bones and in his bone marrow. And she developed cancer of the brain, and there was large lumps all over her head. And she was bleeding from the stomach. It was rather a horrible death for both of them. My son was a very brave person. It's a little hard for me to talk about it. He said, "Mom, they've just found out I have AIDS." And all I could say was, "My God." And he said, "I thought I would live to be at least 60. And then he asked me to make certain that he didn't have much pain. James has suffered. He's had 3 central lines into the large artery that goes into his heart. He's had 2 tubes, NG tubes, put into his stomach. And he's had a gastrostomy. And he's been in a lot of pain. That's the worst, the pain. If you possibly can abstain, do not have sex before marriage. I say this because I know what it means if you should get AIDS. I've gone through all the horrors, all the worst things that I could ever imagine. It isn't worth it. A few moments of pleasure and a lifetime of regret. And those just aren't empty words.